Okay, I'm going to show you how to make a title. This would be if you wanted to make a big title for the beginning of your film, or if you wanted to make just a name card for one of the people. So here I've got a picture of my dog Finn, labeled Sir Derpy, um, and I'm going to put his name on it like you will do for your editing project in your documentary where you're going to add people's names. So in order to add a name, you're going to go up to File. I'm not sure if this shows it because of the way the Screencast-O-Matic is, but go up to File, and you're going to go down to File, New, and Legacy Title. So Legacy Title, I would suggest that you call it something like Finn so that it's easier to find if you should go off of it. So you've got lots of options down here about fonts that are already set up. So you can grab one of those if any of them are particularly attractive, and you can then label all of whatever you would like. What I would suggest, because even with that, it's kind of hard to read, right? So you can create a little template that you're going to use to make your titles. And after you make the one, you can copy it and just change the text within it. So let's say I want to make a box. I've got my white box here. And you see, here's my fill of my box. If I wanted to add an outer stroke around it, aka an edge, I can do that. I could change it to whatever color I want. I could put a shadow on the box. I think I already created a shadow with the one that I chose. And so I want to put this behind my text clearly. So I go down to Arrange and say Send to Back. But you remember that my text, if I want to click on my text again, I've got to go to the pointer tool, also known as the selection tool. And I've got to click on either part of it. So let's say this is obviously kind of big. This is just for the sake of having an example here. But if I double click, it'll let me select the text again. And now I can take that from being white, and maybe I want to have blue text. That is kind of segueing over into purple. And maybe I want to change the size of this part of it so that this is more of a caption. So up here I have my size. So I can make that 80 or even 45 and make it much smaller. And then I just want to play around with what this looks like. There's a lot of options for you. Maybe you want to add in some kind of accent. So or something, you can do anything. I wouldn't go too crazy because you don't want it to be totally intrusive, but you can modify that. For example, if I've got this piece here that is 5 width. If I change that to 2, it's going to be way less intrusive there. So what that means is you're going to put it wherever you want here. And when you're ready, you can also, let's see here, position. You can align it so that what I just told it to do was make everything go in the center. So if you if you selected it, and then right click and go down to position, I'm telling it where I want it. It will auto do that stuff for you. So once I'm done, I just close out. And then in my library, the same place where you have your other footage, it's now created this little title card for me. So what I want to do is I want to put it on top of the image that I would like. And since this is a picture and not a video, I can make it however long. But if I want it to only last a very short amount of time, so this is 2 seconds here. So let's say I want it to last 2 seconds in my little film. I can do that. And then it would go away. Now, with it going away, it was kind of abrupt, right? So one thing you can do is you can go up to your effects window and go to video transitions, and I can have I can add one of those transitions like the dissolve to the end of my title. So then it's a little bit more subtle. So it's a nice little detail, and honestly, I don't think that's a very visually pleasing little title card I did here. I would go with something a lot cleaner. And if you wanted to edit it, you could just double click on it, and now I can edit it again. Maybe I don't want this harsh white background. Maybe I want to go with, I don't know, this is going to look any better, but I'd say you don't, certainly, I would keep it smaller too. I would move both of these down and move that over here. I've got my little line that I made. I should move that up here. You might choose to do something a little bit more streamlined, because remember, we're imagining this either on a big screen, if you're doing it at the Drexel, or if someone's watching it on the computer, they're not going to be watching it, so far away that they're not going to be able to see it. So that's a major advantage in terms of keeping it not like someone is reading this from across a football field. So clearly, you'll want to play around with it, and for this individual one. But as soon as I make all those changes and go back out, now if I go over here, they're made. Now, so once I've got it, then this is like exactly what I want, and I'm going to do 7 other name cards. What you want to do is you want to duplicate it. All right. So now I've got this one that says Fin Copy 2, Fin Copy 1, and so I might call it Sydney, the name of my other dog. And with that, I want to add a picture of Sydney here, so I can put her over here after Finn. There she goes. And in that title card, now I double click on it, and I change the name in here. So, and if it's not letting you click directly on it, you can always go into it this way. You might have to move it. If you've got overlapping things, sometimes that can complicate things. So, Sydney, and her title is going to have to be Princess. And I want it to be the same font. So in order that you don't have to redo it, because every time you redo it, it could potentially vary. So I wouldn't set it up. I wouldn't set it up so you had to move it like I just did, because then you're going to create variety. Instead, if you put this to make sure it's arranged as at the front, it shouldn't have that problem. And then you won't have to worry about, oh, is this one off or whatever. So I've changed that one, and I just bring it over to wherever Miss Sydney is. I would try and keep it consistent. So if I'm going to go 2 seconds or whatever similar amount, you just pull it to that one. I might want to add that same transition. So remember, I'm going to Effects, and I'm going to do Dissolve. And maybe you can also dissolve into it. So if you wanted, you can add that transition to the beginning. So then when I'm going from, oopsies, there we go. But it went so fast there because the dissolve took a while that you probably wouldn't need to have that. You could play around with it. So I would probably only dissolve out. The last thing I would just say is potentially you might want to you want to have a transition between the 2 images. So you could do something goofy in this one because it's kind of obviously a silly example. So here you go. Here's the example of how to use a name card, as well as how to add transitions to that. And there you go. My 2 puppy dogs as starring in this video.